Okay, now let's take a look at accounting for a main product and a byproduct. And this is problem 16-24. Bill Dundee is the owner and operator of Louisiana Bottling, a bulk soft drink producer. A single production process yields two bulk soft drinks, Rainbow Dew, which is the main product, and Residue, love that name, the byproduct. Both products are fully processed by the split-off point, and there are no separable costs. For September 2006, the cost of the soft drink operation is $120,000, and production and sales data appear in the table just to the left of where I'm moving the mouse. So we had 10,000 gallons made of Rainbow Dew, 2,000 of Residue. We had sales of 8,000 of Rainbow and 1,400 gallons of Residue, and the price is $20 and $2 respectively. Okay, no beginning inventory, so that makes this a little bit easy to solve. And then we're going to tackle both requirements. First, we'll tackle what's the gross margin for Louisiana Bottling under the production method and the sales method of byproduct accounting. So we'll tackle both methods, and then we'll tackle number 2 in a moment. All right, well, to get started, I've done just a little bit of staging, not a whole lot, just to lay out how we should solve this problem. All right, first let's indicate what the revenues are, because eventually we need to work down to gross margin, right? So we have a main product and we have a byproduct. I'll indent that a little bit. Oh, this one. Did I miss a... Must have added a space in here. Yeah, and then we'll just indent. And that way it lines up nice. Okay, so the byproduct, the main product, we had sales equal to 8,000 gallons at $20 per gallon. Oh, type this correctly. Move that off so you can see that. Okay, so 160,000. And under the sales method, it would be exactly the same. So I'll just copy it from there, right? Regardless of the method of accounting we use, that external sales would be the same for the main product. And for the byproduct, I'm just going to copy these. Actually, I better not. I'm going to change the format a little bit. Okay, I think I've got it formatted correctly. So, of the byproduct, we had sales of 1,400 units. Well, first, let me just calculate what the sales are. 1,400 units times $2. Okay, now we're going to need that number. Now, under the production method, we wouldn't show it here, though. So, I'll hit the F2 so we can see how we come up with that revenue amount. But that's not how we'll do it. Under the sales method, that is how we would do it. In fact, we'll bring it back and I'll copy it over here so that we would show the sales under the sales method. Now, let's keep working down the production method first. So eventually we come up with total revenues. And we'll indent that. And production method, we don't show the revenue of a byproduct as a separate line item. Hence the name production method. We'll sum from above. Get rid of this one. And that's our total revenue line, right? Then we're going to compute cost of goods sold. And the first thing we need to do is jot down the total manufacturing costs. Okay, so let me move that in. And the total manufacturing cost in both cases is that 120,000 right above my line, the cost of soft drink operations. Okay, and since we're assuming it's one entire plant, there's no admin function, that would all be manufacturing costs. So we'll show total manufacturing cost of 120,000. And that number is going to be the same whether we use production or the sales method. But then we need to deduct a portion of that under the production method. Okay, so we deduct a proportion of the byproduct revenue and treat it as a reduction of costs under the production method. The byproduct revenues are shown separately under the sales method. There's no deduction there. All right, well, how do we come up with that amount? Well, here's what we do. We take what was produced times the selling price. So instead of using 1,400 times $2, which was the revenues of the byproduct, we take the 2,000 units produced times the $2. And we show that as a negative. So let me make that negative just so we get a negative amount here. And then once we get to there, we can come up with a net manufacturing cost line. Okay, and now we can sum from above, and I'll delete that middle summation. And we come up with now we have a difference in the net manufacturing amounts under the two methods. The next step we need to do is we need to back out whatever we had of our main product in inventory. And this requires a different treatment between the two methods as well. So we need to deduct the main product inventory, right? Remember, we started off with nothing in beginning, then we add what we produced, and you back off with ending to come up with the cost of what you made for the period. Okay, so to come up with the main product inventory on hand, what we do is we allocate the portion of production that still exists and multiply it times the net manufacturing costs. Okay, if we look to the left of my mouse now, we know that we produced 10,000 units during the period. There was none in beginning, so we don't have to worry about that. We sold 8,000, so 2,000 of the 10,000, the difference between what we sold and what we made, is still in inventory. So I'm going to take that 2,000 that's left in inventory divided by the 10,000 we made to come up with the percentage of total costs that we need to allocate times inventory. And that net manufacturing cost line appears right there in the cell above. Right? So we take 2,000 out of 10,000 gallons times 116 to come up with 23,200. And then we would use that same formula under the sales method. So we take 2,000 units out of 10,000, what was remaining in inventory out of what we produced, and multiply it times the net manufacturing cost we're using under the sales method. Okay, so once we have that net manufacturing cost, we can underline that and then also come up with a cost of goods sold. Okay, so now let me indent a little bit, and then I want to show this again as negative. So I'll just make one of these numbers negative so that we can force it all to be negative, right? And that way I can just sum down the same way I have done here, is using a summation of a negative number to a positive number to come up with a net amount. Okay? And we can underline that, and then if I just copy that across, we get the same thing with the sales method, and eventually we work our way down to gross margin. Okay, so I'm going to indent this one back here, and gross margin would be equal to the total revenues less the cost of sales. And that's as far down as we need to calculate on this one. And maybe it makes sense to double underline because that's what we're going down to. Okay, so there's how we come up with the different gross margins under the production method and the sales method when we're accounting for a main product and a byproduct in a process costing environment. Okay, now let's tackle number 2, which says what are the inventory costs reported in the balance sheet on September 30th for Rainbow Dew and Residue under the two methods of byproduct accounting in Requirement 1. All right, let me slide just so we have a little bit of room. Okay, so if we write down rainbow dew and residue, okay, one thing we know is we've already calculated the main product inventory right here, right? So um, what we were able to do is come up with the total cost, and then we allocate the cost to the ending inventory, right? And we did an allocation based on total cost and the number of units that are still on hand. So typical in process costing, it really is an averaging impact. We capture all the costs and then we allocate them among the units, and in this case the units are in gallons. So since we take a lump sum amount, divided it by quantity, it's somewhat of an averaging effect. Okay, so our total cost is the 23,200 that we calculated earlier. By hitting the F2, we can see how the calculation was made, right? 2,000 divided by 10 times the net manufacturing costs. And we get a little bit of a difference under the sales method, because under the sales method we don't treat a deduction of cost by the byproduct revenue. Alright, so what does that tell us? In terms of residue, we've got to figure out what's the value of the inventory we have on hand. Alright, now I'm going to look up here again and I'm going to calculate that. We had 2,000 units. We sold 1,400 units, so therefore we're left with 600 units on hand, and we would value this as a separate product under the production method. 600 units times the selling price per gallon. Okay, so let me put an equal sign in there, and we come up with that $1,200. Now what is unusual is we are using the selling price per gallon as the basis of what we'd put on the residue. That's because we've also treated the $2 sales price as a deduction based on the full dollar amount from production cost. So since we've used a retail value, a selling price if you will, under the production method to deduct the cost, it makes sense to use that same retail method to show the byproduct on the inventory. Okay, now under the sales method, we took the full cost of making the byproduct and we never deducted it from manufacturing costs. So we essentially averaged it into the byproduct, and as a result, averaged it into the main product. The total manufacturing cost was $120,000. We did not deduct anything for the byproduct revenue, so as a result, the total cost is a part of the main product. So under the sales method, the byproduct gets valued at 0. And I'll make that look consistent. And that's the answer to part 2. So we're going to report a total of, what is that, 24,400 on the balance sheet under the production method versus just 24,000 under the sales method. And that takes care of this problem. Thanks, everyone.